Hey, Power Movers. I'm here today with Rob. Welcome to the podcast.
Roy, thank you so much for having me on.
And we're going to be talking about performance, stress, and how we run through our business in a better way. So, give us an introduction, Rob. What do you enjoy doing? Who is Rob?
Great question because I wear so many different hats. I've done everything from football, wrestling, lacrosse, playing some rugby in college, post-college. Sports has always been like my home away from home. So like it was always my second family and many times it ended up becoming like my main family. And being athletic and being in the gym, that kind of led me to wanting to be in the gym a little bit more, whether that was leading teams or just curious about my own personal physical performance. And that inspired me to go to university and study kinesiology, which is the study of human movement, and eventually going on to grad school to get a master's in exercise science and eventually getting into personal training and strength and conditioning coaching was awesome because that gave me an opportunity to taste entrepreneurship. It allowed me to control my schedule, learn a little bit of sales, and really work as much as I wanted to. I didn't have anybody to tell me no. That journey led me to building my book of business up to the point where I was working 15, 16, sometimes 17-hour days, 7 days a week for about 3 years. And during that journey of grind and hustle, I had a lot of on paper success, but I was left a lot of emptiness on the inside and also on the outside too. A lot of friends and family had left me. In that time, there had been a period where I decided I wanted to pivot out of strength and conditioning and stepping into the role of personal performance strategy, which is what I do now. I run a small strategy firm helping other entrepreneurs, small business owners, and solopreneurs or passion-driven professionals prevent burnout so that they can perform their best and live the life that they actually wanted.
And that's it, right? I don't think people understand how lonely entrepreneurship can be. We go through this whole process and we start this process and we think, okay, I'm going to tell my wife about it. I'm going to tell my family about it. After the third conversation, they don't want to know anymore. They just don't want to know anymore. At my highest, I had 150 staff. If you have staff, they are different from you. They don't connect you in the same way again. So it can be such a lonely space. You experience that, right?
Growing and building, surrounded with people all day, working with 10 to 15 different people, sports teams, sometimes 100 kids or athletes in a day. And yet I'm alone and isolated. Nobody understands, or the people who seem to understand, they just don't understand or care as much as you do, right? Because no one's going to care about your business more than you do. Even if you do have staff, like they're only going to care so far. And everybody wants you to be there to help them deliver the service or the product. Nobody wants you to do what's best for you at the end of the day because it's all about me. Like everybody's favorite radio station, WWIFM, or what's in it for me. So
Yeah.
everybody's trying to get what's most important to them. And as an entrepreneur or business owner, you almost always put other people's needs in front of yours, even when you need to be prioritizing yourself.
I love the idea that we get a certain amount of energy every day, right? We get a bucket of energy every day. And the more we think about yesterday and the more we think about tomorrow, the more we end up taking away from today's energy. We don't have the tools and techniques. And one of the things I teach is breath work. I don't know if you've come across Wim Hof. I'm a Wim Hof instructor. And for me, breath work brings me back into the moment. It allows me to wash off yesterday and wash off tomorrow. We don't learn tools in the toolbox that allow entrepreneurs to be present and to have today's energy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been mindful. I've been a fan of the Headspace app. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Remember downloading that like almost 10 years ago, like 2016 or something. And I remember using that ever since. There'd be waves where sometimes I'll do it more consistently than others. And even when I was in that burnout phase, I was trying to use that in between sessions and it would be helpful, but you get so distracted with everything else. Spending a few minutes here and there helps, but when you're so overwhelmed with everything else, thinking about tomorrow, worrying about yesterday, where you don't give yourself enough time to decompress and breathe and sit through your thoughts, it can end up eating into tomorrow's and next week's energy buckets too, because you've got so much other stuff going on. Then you have this debt, right? And you're like, oh, how do I build back and get any energy?
Yeah.
Boom, bringing in all the extra energy drinks, and you're just constantly flow, flow, flow. And then you're in that hole, right? You're stuck.
Have you come across Joe Dispenza?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm off to another one of his retreats in 2 weeks' time in
Oh,
Cancun.
nice.
And yeah, also life changing. And for me, as an entrepreneur, I think we all have a superpower, and we call it ADHD, right? Yeah, boom, boom. Yeah, this is where it all goes. The problem with that is we end up chasing seven things at once.
Hmm.
And then when you try and meditate, try and use headspace, you just can't because you're thinking about those seven things, right? And for me, breath work was the one way to get close to the meditation because 20 minutes of breath work and you don't think about anything. And then you're in the calm space. So my routine in the morning is to do my breath work first and then do my meditation. And then I go and hit the gym and the sauna and then the ice bath. And taking that hour for myself every day, without doing that, I don't get a third of the work done. I really don't. Yeah. And is that something that you teach your people to do?
Yes, and I try to go through prioritization because there are so many different things you can do, right? Like you can have a morning routine where you're journaling, goal setting. I would wake up, I would take a cold shower, I would do breath work and meditation, I would write my goals. I'd write my annual goals, my quarterly goals, my monthly goals, my weekly goals, my daily goal. Every single morning, I'd do my gratitude practice. I would start meal prepping. I would get a little mini workout in. I'd get my stretches in, go outside for a walk, get some sunlight. My morning routine became my morning and my afternoon routine. So eventually, it was eating up too much of my time that I could never really move that needle forward into building what I was trying to build, which is the strategy firm, because I was so busy setting my day up that I wouldn't have much day left. So what I try to do now is I prioritize based off of the different seasons that I'm in. So if I'm in a super busy season where I'm going to be speaking, doing a lot of podcasts, or if I'm traveling, doing a lot, I might not spend quite as much time in journaling or reflecting or planning, but I'll spend more time in meditation, grounding myself so I can slow down because I'm in such a fast season. And then when it comes into a slower season where I have more room to breathe, that's where I get into goal setting, planning. How do I optimize the new systems? How do I prepare for the next sprint season? So yeah, I've got tools and tips that I like to do for myself and others, but I think it really comes down to what is the season that they're currently in. As I imagine, there's different seasons for everything that you're going through as well. There's the ups, downs, off seasons. It's different for everybody.
Actually understanding the toolbox that you need, being able to pull from that toolbox. I've got mine down to an hour and 15 minutes. That's what I'm doing at the moment. I'll get up early, 5:30 is my start. I'll get up and have my peptides and my vitamins and various things, then I'll start my routine. And don't touch the phone. Don't look at the messages. Don't look at the emails. The phone comes after 7 o'clock. Right.
What
So
about turning the phone off in the evening? What time do you get rid of that?
I generally get rid of it. I go to bed early, so I'm up 9:30. So I get rid
Mm.
of it at 9.
Because that was another thing too for me. It was like, all right, I got this great morning routine, but to do it even better, I need to have a better evening routine. So then I was like, all right, phone goes away. Now I'm doing this. So then like that routine for me was like leaving me this much time left in the day to actually move the needle forward. And then I'd get stuck consuming stuff. I was like, I'm gonna listen to this podcast. I'm gonna read this book. I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z courses. And then so I'm doing all this like prep work. And then when I'm doing my have my time for my actual work, all I was doing was consuming more information. So I would have all these shiny object ideas, but I never had any time to really execute or plan those ideas.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened with you?
100%. Yeah, shiny shit. Shiny shit, shiny shit, shiny shit. Yeah, yeah, and bringing the focus down to one thing. And I'll flip over now to AI. And what are you doing with AI at the moment? How do you see the year we're going into?
It's tough. I wish I could see where it's going, but it's evolving so quickly, right? It's changing faster than I can even pay attention to. A lot of people are worried about it taking jobs or eliminating a lot of jobs, and that may be true for some people in some places, but I think More so, it's somebody using the AI is what's going to be moving us forward and such. So I think looking at it as a tool. And for myself in the coaching realm, it helps me with content marketing. It helps me with developing systems for email sequences and using it as a tool to get things moving forward. When I talk about optimizing or creating efficiency, one of my prime principles is all around that. And I teach a framework called going at your own pace. And the PACE is an acronym for P is prioritize and plan, A is automate, delegate, C is cut distractions, and then E is evaluate and adjust. So in that A, that automate, delegate, this is where I see AI playing a huge role because it can do a lot for you, but it can also set up other systems to run for you. So I'm constantly using it to, okay, how do I set up this automation with this one tool so that it can send an email at this time to that, to this? How do I get it so that I set this follow up for that thing? And I'm using it as almost like a trainer, but then also as a tool.
What are you using for your automations?
I'm using a software called KEAP.
Yeah, I've been digging in the last probably year. I've been digging into Make.com and Zapier and yeah, the workflows within those. And the reason being that I use Claude AI as my main AI at the moment, just because it's more secure. And N10 has now got version 2, which is secure. And to your point, I think, yeah, people are just so overwhelmed, right? There's just so much noise about so many things. I'm not going to get involved now because in 2 weeks' time it's going to be different. And to your other point, the systems that you need to put in place, if you can just fix the business problem, right? What is the business problem that you've got? If you look at your accountability chart, and you'll be wearing a lot of the hats, how many people on your team? Are you by yourself or you got more people?
I got a team of virtual assistants like overseas, and I've got one other person here in the States.
So each of them wear their hats, right? Yeah,
Yep.
your marketing hat, your sales hat, your operations hat. And each of these fits in your organizational chart. For every role and responsibility, you can automate 60% of it. The first thing you need to do is actually need to know what it is. Because you start building a business and you wear all the hats, right? You do everything and you're just
Mhm.
running around like a crazy person. And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna need some help. I'm gonna hire Johnny, my mate. He can help me with this. And then Johnny comes in, and you don't explain it properly. And Johnny does a bit of a job, and you're like, okay, shit, now we're gonna get married. And you got all these people that are doing their very best, but you haven't told them how to do it properly. And this grows until you get about 5 people. And then it gets stuck. And then you have to sit back. And for these automations to work, you need to automate with SOPs that are right.
That's a great way of going about it too, is being able to use features like Zoom or Loom where I can record myself doing something, sharing my screen, and then just speaking out what I'm doing while I'm performing the task. And then I just take the video, take the transcript from the audio, throw that into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, and ask it to make it concise and summarize this and make it like an SOP. And then that helps save so much time.
Yeah, I think people are thinking about AI wrong at the moment, right? So we're going now into a stage where AI is actually evolving how we think.
Hmm.
We used to have to think inside our brain. Now we can think outside our brain. This weekend, I did a workflow where I'm using Claude and I've given it a skill. And I'm taking people on a journey over the next year where I'm saying, listen, I can tell you how to do this stuff, or I can show you how I do it. So I'm just going to show you how I do it. I do that all on Claude, right? I do a lot of it on Claude. So I'm always just throwing ideas and working at 5 million miles an hour. Now, at the end of the day, I run my journal skill. It goes through my entire day and it says, okay, these were good ideas. This is what's happening. And it puts it into my database and creates a script and does everything I need to. Once a week, I can pick the 4 hours to record all that stuff. And that's my next week done. It's the thinking piece of, okay, how do we think differently? If your mind is a computer, if your head's a computer, you've got your hard drive space and you've got your processor. We've been taking all the files out, putting them into the processor, and it fills up. We don't have capacity to do anything else. But now we can just leave all the files out. We don't need to know any of that stuff. We just need
Yeah.
to know how to get the answer and how to build the skill and how to do the thing. I just think there's such an opportunity as we go forward where people start to think differently. And people that start doing that correctly now, they're the ones that really go through and elevate what they're doing. And that'll allow
Yeah.
them to keep the human in because we have to keep the human at the top.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because that's when I'm speaking and sharing about the story of me being burnt out and how in that time period I lost the girl I was dating. A lot of my friends stopped contacting me. I didn't see my parents for the holidays and lost my own health and everything was going down the drain. And in that period, the most important relationship that I lost was the relationship with my father. He had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, got really sick, and I regretted not spending enough time with him towards the end. I refer to that period of burnout and grind and hustle as robot mode. There's nothing wrong with turning that switch on and putting the grind in and hustling hard. But the problem comes when you forget to shift out of that robot mode back into human mode. When you stay in robot mode for too long, you lose that awareness, the emotion, the human aspect. Every morning when I'm in the car or driving to the gym or whatever it may be, I just do a voice note from memory. What do I remember doing yesterday? What do I remember working on yesterday? And then it pulls that through. And then at the end of the week, I put all the journals into AI and I ask it to synthesize, like, what was I really spending a lot of time on? What do I really take away? And then that was showing me, like, hey, you're spending too much time on X, Y, and Z. Like, it's another tool for awareness. So now, like yourself, I'm trying to leverage AI to increase my own awareness and my own growth.
That's awesome. I haven't done that, but I like that. I do it the other way around. Yeah, I've never been a journaler. I can't. I think too fast. I don't even. I don't talk clearly because my mind is not catching up to my voice. So writing, I've never written very irritated. Now in the morning, I'll get up and I'll just say I'm going to brain dump everything that's in my head. And I go, I talk, I stop, I talk, I stop, I talk, I stop until I've got nothing left in my head. And then it's out. And then I say, okay, this is my goal in 2 weeks' time. What do I need to do in what order to get to that goal? Because yesterday I would have started 4 other exciting projects. They're not taking me where I need to go. Tell me a little bit more about how you go out to market, who you speak to, how do you do that? You're a speaker as well. What type of gigs do you do?
I've done a couple of conferences, like stages, the motivational inspiration kind of stuff is cool. I have a couple stories that kind of relate, but I find myself more of a workshop facilitator. The people who I work with, my strategy firm, is those passion-driven professionals. So it's those service-based, but they're out there grinding, they're working, they've got a skill, there's a hobby or something that they got really good at. They spent a lot of time getting good at what they're doing. And then they're like, I'm so good at this. I could make more money if I just did it on my own. So they make that shift into entrepreneurship. So many people start this new side hustle or this small business and they end up just creating another job for themselves. They've got the worst boss in the world who is themselves. So where I come in is I try to share the prime performance process to help them systematize their own personal growth so that they can continue to grow and level up as does the business so that they move together at the same kind of speed and evolution. That's going to cause issues too if you're growing at a different rate from the business or if the business is growing and you're not quite leveled up as a leader yet, there's going to be issues. So where we come in is personal strategy for that professional growth.
That's quite awesome. I come in, I say, first of all, I teach them AI because no one's got the time to do their physical and mental health. I teach them a bit of AI to give them that time. Then I teach them a little bit of what are those tools that you can use just to get yourself into a good space. Maybe Wim Hof, breath work, whatever it is. And then we can talk about growing and scaling the company. And I don't know if you've heard of EOS or Boss Up. Yeah, I do Boss Up coaching. And it was a total game changer for me. I went from working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, to working 5 hours per week. Right. I've done that for the last 5 years in my IT companies. I have 3 IT companies I run, and now this is my new passion. So I'm now digging into this. There's ways to do this that other people have done it already. You don't have to go and learn it now. And we've been in such a learning culture. I need to go out and learn. I love learning. I'm always doing it. The guitar, the stack line, I'm always learning something new. And that's great. But when you're doing it all the time in business, you lack execution.
Mm.
You're in development phase and not an execution phase. So if you could shortcut my last 30 years worth of work, right, yeah, I could have shortcut it to 3. And that's what we want to do. Such a big piece of that is the wellness side. So have you got some success stories from clients you've worked with?
Yeah, and actually, you said something that was funny, reminded me is like constantly always learning. And if you're always learning and absorbing, then you lack that execution. When I first got out of undergrad, I was like, all right, I got this kinesiology degree. I'm fresh out of university. I know everything there is around human performance. I'm driving home. I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. I'm never going to learn anything else. I already know everything there is.
Right.
And then 2 weeks later, I'm at my internship and I'm like, wow, I don't know anything.
Right.
And then that set me off to continue with schooling and learn more. And then when I was shifting out of strength and conditioning, I was like, all right, what is it that I want to be doing? I know I like coaching, I know I like performance, and I was trying to figure it out. And I got caught with that morning and afternoon routine and then just consuming. And I never made room for that action. And to bring this back to your question about some success with some other clients, I see a lot of people failing to create the growth because they don't have that room or time in their schedule or calendar. They're either constrained because of financial constraints or the work time availability, or they're stuck on the distractions. They're so overwhelmed and tired and exhausted from their job that they only turn off with the doom scrolling in the evening so they don't give themselves that room. And then they can never really find their passion projects to move into that next stage or set the stage for the growth that they're looking for. But one of the best clients that I've worked with was this individual who originally came to me because they were a little bit overweight. They were looking to lose about 20 pounds. And as we were continuing to work together, I uncovered that he was at this dead end job and he'd been working for almost 15 years, completely didn't hate everybody he worked with, but he was leaving work emotionally drained every day. That would affect him going to the gym because he would be so distraught that he wouldn't be able to get through that. We slowly started to build up some confidence and strength and showed him that there are other careers and things out there. And as he started applying to different places, he's telling me, I'm getting rejected after rejection. Nobody's taking me. I'm taking these interviews. Nothing's happening. So then we revisit. We're like, hey, just keep training, keep challenging yourself with new things. Let's optimize that. Let's keep it going. He comes to me, he's like, dude, someone wants me for work. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know what to do? You should take the position. He's like, yeah, but this other job that I applied for also wants me. So now I've got two of these positions. And I was like, that's a great problem to have. Let's figure it out. And through that, we uncovered that he's been working on a book for almost 15 years.
Wow.
So we're like, all right, now you've got a new job where you have more flexibility and freedom. Now you have time to dedicate to your writing and to growing your creativity and to being able to go out and network and connect with people. This guy did a complete 180 of his life, lost 40 pounds. He's got a better job. He's finishing his novel. He's connected with way more people instead of being isolated. And he's emotionally, financially, and physically stable. He can handle all these different things. So I would say that guy is probably one of the best
And that's, I mean,
client stories.
yeah, I love the way you light up there because that's why we do it, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's this ability to actually see a real change in somebody's life. Yeah, and yeah, it lights me up as well. And I just wanted to touch a little bit on that point. In the human body, we have the sympathetic mode and the parasympathetic mode, right? The fight and flight, sympathetic, parasympathetic, rest and digest. Creativity only happens in parasympathetic. Right, so if you're always flighting, you can never be creative. I'm not talking about drawing pictures. I'm talking about being creative in your career, being creative in your life, being creative with your partner. They don't happen if you're always fight or flight. Right, so there's no possibility of growth. Rest and digest, parasympathetic, is where the growth happens. Your body won't even grow muscles if you're in sympathetic. There's such a mind shift that needs to happen with people to get the understanding of come out of sympathetic. Yeah, and that's where sickness comes from. That's where disease comes from. If you can do one thing, go and do 4 minutes of box breathing and just bring yourself out of sympathetic mode. And the difference can be just astounding.
That's why so many people, at least for myself, I would carve out time to game plan, figure out what I wanted to do. But because my brain was going in so many different things and putting out so many different fires all day long, I couldn't get to that creative. I couldn't see anything because I was stuck breathing through my chest all day and I couldn't shift into that parasympathetic mode. And bringing that breath work in, a little bit of meditation gives that space. It sets the ground so that you can build the creativity off of it. So I love that full circle right there.
What's the future like? What's the next 12 months like?
Yeah, so this last year I started doing some group coaching. So it's a lot of the prime performance coaching, but in a group setting. but I kept it only to current clients. So in the past like 6 months, I made a decision. I was like, okay, I want to now introduce this to more people out into the public. So this new group coaching is what I'm most excited about because now I get to share the prime principles. I get to teach the different strategies and frameworks that I've created. But also, it's a tool for me too because it's accountability, it's connection. I'm sharing the things that I'm working on from speaking to new frameworks to new workbooks and things. So I'm holding other people accountable. They're holding me accountable. It's a comfortable space where we meet every week online to move each other forward. And it's awesome because we're getting a bunch of people in and everyone's having success through the collaboration. And it's a really cool thing to see. And I can see that growing and I can see new workshops growing out of that, collaborating with other people in the group. And I'm also connecting with new people. We're cross-pollinating audiences and it's exciting. So I'm excited for that to grow.
Yeah, community is amazing, isn't it? Just having like-minded people together. And for entrepreneurs, that's so important. Yeah, because you are this lonely person, right? You, you need other entrepreneurs around you. Once you get some time back for yourself, you can spend time with your family, and then those relationships get better, right? Yeah, you can spend time with yourself, and you learn how to love yourself again. I think entrepreneurs look at what all the other entrepreneurs are doing, and they're like, "Oh, why can't I do that?" And then you get the doubt, and you get this, "I'm not that good." It's just you're not that good. You don't have the tools that are out there. You need to take advantage of those tools. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in collaboration over competition. Even if we're two of the same exact people and we're teaching the same things to the same audience, there's a differentiator.
Yeah.
There's something about us that's different and that's going to resonate with a certain audience versus somebody else. And in my eyes, that way it's okay. Everybody is working together. So you can share the stages, you can do whatever. And that shows me that there's room for everybody.
There's something like 770 million small business owners. Yeah. There's enough for all of us, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
in the UK, I think last year, surveys that were done, 60% of business owners neared burnout.
Oh, yeah. I believe it.
It's just, it doesn't need to be like that. You don't need to put yourself, your family, your friends, anybody through that. There's ways, there's tools, and there's people that can help.
It's crazy too because I feel like we think about burnout and we hear people working long hours. And I know for myself, at least, it was always like, oh, I just assume that person's not strong enough to keep going forward. Burnout comes from moving too fast without the aligned direction. Because like speed without direction just ends up becoming a distraction. And that distraction creates friction, and then that friction leads to stress. That's what leads to burnout. And it's not that we don't work hard enough, it's just that we're working so hard on the wrong things. Leveraging AI, leveraging community, connection, mentorship, using these tools to help ourselves align better will help us prevent that burnout. As long as we're working together and we're understanding that collaboration is better than competition, that eliminates comparison and those expectations that are unreal.
Yeah, 100%. We need to smooth is slow, but slow is fast. You go and race a motorbike, you try and zip around, you're going to crash. But if you slow down, you can get it smoothed out, and suddenly you're doing your fastest lap times. And it's very much the same as this. Get the right mindset, get yourself calmed down, and find your passion again. That's what hurts the most is when you see someone that's doing something they're really passionate about, and they're just hitting the wall, and they're really trying to brute force this thing up the hill. And they're not going to if they don't get themselves right first. And they've got to trust and honor themselves. They need their own wellness. I ended up in hospital during COVID with a burst colon from diverticulitis, total stress related, not looking after myself. I got into some really dark places in 2021. And that gave me such a wake up call. I don't care if I've got 10 million pounds in the bank. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to enjoy my life. I want to be able to do all these things. Yeah, with the current world and the current status with AI, I can't even see 2 years into the future what's going to be happening. Yeah, so I might as well enjoy it now. I might as well enjoy my life now. Yeah. Okay, just to wrap this up, I wanted to think of one bit of advice to give people out there. What's one bit that could move the needle forward for them?
Yeah, this might sound like a cop-out answer, so if you need me to come up with something else, just let me know. But I think the most important thing to move that needle down forward is to just slow down, reflect more, but reflect more consciously. It's one thing to be aware, but I think it's another thing to be conscious of the awareness. You could be aware of the United States, but unless you put yourself in it, you're not going to really understand how that affects you. As entrepreneurs, we do a good job at semi paying attention. We see the signals go off when we need to, whether it's business or our personal life. We know those signals, like our body hurts or our bank accounts are hurting. And then that comes to our awareness. But sometimes we don't put ourselves into it enough to make that better decision, take that action on that. And I think that comes from slowing down and reflecting it more consciously.
And giving yourself the time to do it, right? Giving yourself the time to do it. It's been amazing having you. I'll put all your details in the bottom of the podcast and looking forward to chatting again sometime in the future.
Awesome. Roy, thank you so much for having me on today. I appreciate this convo and everything you're doing.
Thank you.